The Vanguard newspaper this morning says, stay clear of our internal affairs. FG wants foreign powers. Now away from the Vanguard newspaper, let's take a look at the front page of the Punch newspaper. Fuel queues may linger till next week. Marketers. CBN dumps 12-month forex policy with $876 million auction. Okay, crude crisis. National Assembly to probe NNPC Dangote refinery. Away from that, oil theft. Reps deny speakers $1.7 million bribe for appointment. That's quite interesting. The biggest story on the front page of Punch newspaper this morning says hunger protest. Okay, hunger protest loses steam as DSS grills 7 foreigners. You know, Comrade Ayodiji was both saying yesterday that it seems the protest, the nationwide protest, has kind of lost its momentum. Yeah, it's fizzling out. We'll talk about that in the course of the program.
All right.
Nigeria urges ECOWAS defense chiefs to curb coups. Okay, EFCC quizzes Ogun officials over government funds. Power generation hits 3-year high of 5,105 megawatts. Okay, and Olympics. Okay, Olympics. Gallant D Tigress bow out in quarterfinals. A very sad one there. I was particularly optimistic that probably they will eventually get to the finals, but well, it is what it is. It is what it is. Okay, moving away from the Punch newspaper, let's take the Guardian newspaper before I call on Comrade Ayodiji to run the analysis and get his own perspectives of these various stories. Okay, on the front page of the Guardian newspaper, higher education. Amid hurdles, public universities make 12 billion naira from transcript requests in 5 years. Okay, away from that, in another address, Tinubu asks Nigerians to look beyond temporary pains. Despite subsidy removal, Nigeria spends $600 million monthly on fuel importation. Okay, it's found on the business page of the Guardian newspaper this morning. Sanusi links Kano violent protest to intelligence failure. And this is a very sad one. Grandma, son, grandchildren die after Amala meal in Ilorin. That is found on page 8 of the Guardian newspaper. Don't fund politics with union dues. Ministry tells NLC, TUC. Okay, another one. Let me take one more story. Okay, 2 more stories now. 24,816 people killed, 15,597 kidnapped in Nigeria in 5 years. That is a very, very bad and screaming headline on the front page of Guardian there. Talking about the data of people that have been killed and kidnapped in the last 5 years in Nigeria. And that story is found on page 2 of the Guardian newspaper. And the last one I'll be taking says economic sabotage. Senate queries $1.5 billion spent on Port Harcourt refinery. Okay, back to you, Comrade Ayodiji, because of our time this morning. We have about 20 minutes. Okay, we have about 20 minutes. Now, there was a mild address from the president yesterday. That is Bola Ahmed Tinubu to Nigerians. Another one coming. We can call it a address or a message to Nigerians that we should look beyond the pains now and give the federal government some time. What do you make out of that?
Well, that particular clip was posted on the presidential X handle. And I think that was intended. It's not a new one, certainly.
Definitely not.
It was cropped from one of those speeches in which the president had made extempore. You understand?
Definitely.
And I think the president is very, very good when speaking extempore without text. You understand? Now, he's a dreamer, and that comes out in the things he said. Well, that was released apparently as a damage control. You understand?
Yes.
You see, I think these speeches, this written text, should jacket our president. And he was not, even that was not speaking from his heart that day. When a man is speaking from his heart, you see his body. You understand? You can read it in his body. You know, there's body language. They say the kind of, in communication, verbal communication is only 15% of communication. And when the president is speaking extempore, you will see his body language complementing what he's actually saying. And you can feel it that the man is speaking from his heart. There is a convergence of the word and his body language. That is when you know a man is speaking from his heart, and that might likely be the truth from his own perspective. That is what we got in that clip, and that is the standard vintage Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Now, looking at the fact that the national, because of our time now, I want us to make it as quick as possible. Now, looking at the nationwide protest now, we talked about it fizzling out yesterday, and it seems everyone has gone back to the drawing board, or do we say that Nigerians are yielding to the dialogue being called for by the president? That's why the protests are fizzling out.
The president issued a call for dialogue. To who? To the protesters. Who are the protesters? They seem faceless. We have Take It Back and End Back Governance. But who are the leaders?
So what's responsible for the fizzling out of the protest now?
Well, let me tell you one thing that happened preceding the day, the 1st August. Quite a number of platforms that are known as civil society organizations and platforms that have been known, to be pressure groups and all of that. They publicly pulled out.
Yeah.
You understand? So those who remain were unknown. End bad governance. Nobody knew that, not known faces. When they did the 2012 something, Take It Back, or what was it?
Occupy Nigeria.
Occupy Nigeria. The leaders were known national figures in the public space. You understand? So these guys that are End Bad Governance and Take It Back, have you ever heard of them in the public space? You understand? And then the way the security people managed it, you understand? They were quite restrained and civil. And they did the tracking. You leave your footprint all over the place. And I think they have blocked the financing and have identified some people. And look, let me tell you, if you are apprehended, those who have been apprehended, I don't mean the regular guys just demonstrating in Kano and Borno who are under 14, 15, 16. I mean anybody apprehended and, you are identified as a leader, especially with electronic footprint of money. Look, you are going to be on your own. You are not likely to get any support from, because these are amorphous groups, and they are dissolved.
Okay, so we can say that the nationwide protest was more of a dead on arrival because of the pulling out of the key players before it even started.
There was a need for it. They must re-strategize. You understand? They need to re-strategize. And they continue to mount pressure. Okay. And they must understand where they should mount pressure. They should go to the National Assembly, where laws are made, where our representatives are. Those are our representatives. We are not getting a good drift on how democracy works. They must consider themselves into pressure groups and keep vigil. And what I mean by vigil is 24-hour surveillance on specific committees, not just the General National Assembly in general, but some specific committees whose activities are germane and relevant to our daily life, and keep an eye on them and watch what they are doing.
Okay.
To understand that.
All right, let's move away from that. Okay, there is a screaming headline on the front page of the Punch newspaper this morning talking about federal government spending $600 million on fuel importation monthly, as said by the Budget and Finance Minister Wale Edun. Let me try to read the like two paragraphs there. The Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy Wale Edun has revealed that the country currently spends $600 million on fuel importation monthly. He stated that the high import bill is due to neighboring countries up to Central Africa benefiting from the country's fuel imports. Okay, I have a clip of that statement. Let's take a listen.
Let me take it forward this way. The fuel subsidy was removed on May 29, 2023 by Mr. President. And at that time, the poorest 40% were only getting 4% of the value. So basically, they were not benefiting at all. So it was going to just a few. The other point I think is important to make is that nobody knows the consumption in Nigeria of petroleum. We know we spend $600 million every month on importation. The issue here is that all the neighboring countries are benefiting. So we're buying not just for Nigeria, we're buying for the countries to the east, almost as far as Central Africa. We're buying for countries to the north, and we're definitely buying for countries to the west.
All right, Comrade Adija Chokpe, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
you
listened. Did you listen to Wale Edun?
I did.
Okay,
I did.
now $600 million monthly, and you begin to wonder how much will it cost our refineries to be put back into operation if the country is spending $600 million on a monthly basis.
Look, there are committees of National Assembly, the Senate, and the House of Reps, saddled with oversight functions, upstream, downstream, and midstream. There are regulatory agencies. Did you hear that one chairman of one committee, midstream and downstream, was boasting that he paid for the position of chairmanship with $1.7 million?
Yeah.
That even the speaker cannot remove him. Now, these are committees that are saddled constitutionally with oversight function of the activities in the midstream and the downstream. Upstream is offshore exploration, you understand? Downstream is low activities that has to do with the transporting, the storage, transporting, and distribution of products. Now, when this is a constitutionally, prescribed position, why are they not? Are they doing their job? You appropriate, and then you check what is happening. The money that was given for the rehabilitation of Port Harcourt Refinery, it was appropriated for by the National Assembly, and they are constitutionally saddled with, checking up on it. Are they doing it? And if they are not doing it, are the people who put them in office? Are we checking on the people?
Yeah, talking about checking on them, it's on the front page of Guardian newspaper saying that Senate queries $1.5 billion spent on Port Harcourt Refinery. I mean, look at that amount, $1.5 billion spent on Port Harcourt Refinery that is still not functional.
It's still not functional.
And Senate is asking questions now.
Senate is asking questions. What questions is the Senate asking? What type of questions and what response? That is why I say that all these demonstrations, that is not the best thing to do. Let us keep an eye on our representatives when they are going visiting those refineries or calling the executives to come and give an account. There is Freedom of Information, Act. Demand for the report that was submitted by NNPC or whoever, demand and make it look. This thing called democracy, the people are saddled with a responsibility. You understand? SERAP is doing something, but SERAP alone cannot do it. Unfortunately, the civil society organizations that saw us transit from military to democracy, because some of them are interfacing with government, they have been hamstrung. They are no longer able to do what they used to do for us. Democracy, eternal vigilance, they say, is the price you pay for liberty.
You know, Comrade Adeji, another question to ask now. If the federal government has said, okay, we are removing subsidy because there's so much wasteful spending to that, how profitable has it been for the federal government after removing subsidy, still paying $600 million every month in the last 1 year or thereabout? And how much will it, is it more profitable to import this fuel with their $600 million monthly, or to pump all these monies into the refineries to make them functional?
When you ask, is it more profitable? Of course, if it were not profitable to some element, the question is, to whom does the profit go? To the people or to the elements we talked about that are embedded within the system that profit from that? I mean, does it make common sense to spend $600 million every month to import products, you understand, of foreign exchange that we say is not available? That is the major cause of, inflation in our country. And we continue to do that. And we say we have a government in place. What then are they doing? We have to ask serious questions, because we are not doing enough.
And interestingly, the group managing director of NNPCL, that's the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, has been making promises every now and then. Sometime last month, he made a promise that by August 2025 or thereabout, the refineries will be functional. But I went through my library this morning and I stumbled on a particular promise this same man made in 2022, saying that by 2023, all refineries in Nigeria will be functional. Let's take a listen at that.
This is very practical. This is possible. As a matter of fact, when we are done with our own refineries and the Dangote refinery, very many other small initiatives that we are doing, small modular condensate refineries that we are building, if that happens, and we are very optimistic it will happen, you will see that this country will now be a net exporter. As a matter of fact, it will be a hub of export of petroleum product, not just to the West African sub-region, but to the rest of the world. This will happen. The flow of supply will change. By middle of next year, it will change. So you will have no need for importation of petroleum product into this country by middle. I don't know this. I think this combination answers all your questions.
Okay, Mele Kyari there, the group managing director of NNPCL, making that promise towards the end of 2022, saying that by 2023, all our refineries will be functional. We are in 2024 now.
Those promises. And the National Assembly keeps appropriating money. You understand? And they have oversight functions. The chief executive of NNPCL opened his mouth and made such a promise. I mean, before you come into the public space to say things like that, you have your facts and figures.
Definitely.
So, why are they not calling him to question what happened? Why don't we have them functioning? Where are the gaps? Have you identified them? If you have identified them, where are the gaps? And who needs to be sanctioned? Number one, that who needs to be sanctioned for failure to... Look, this is a limited liability company. You set targets. You understand? You set targets. And when you fail to meet those targets, there must be sanctions. There must be questions asked. If the failure is as a result of ineptitude or incompetence, you understand? Or some people must be sanctioned. And what is responsible for that? We don't know. Nobody's asking questions. And if we're asking questions, what are the answers? Democracy that we claim to be practicing demands more than we are given. Eternal vigilance. We have to watch our representatives. It is either NNPC or whatever they are called is hoodwinking our representatives in the National Assembly and the executive branch, or they are in bed together to scuttle, to destroy the bedrock of Nigeria's economy, and we are not doing the necessary.
And eventually, an individual came up with a functional refinery, and look at the hurdles and he has been facing, all the challenges he's been facing.
Is that not enough reason for Nigerians to protest about? Did you hear Mele Kyari yesterday? Mele Kyari said the availability of crude oil for Dangote and others is on the basis of buyer, willing seller, and willing buyer. If there's no willing seller, that means if the IOCs are not willing to sell, Dangote has nothing to buy. Yesterday, that was what Mele Kyari said. Yes.
Let me read the front page of the Nigerian Tribune this morning now. Minister, NNPCL, Dangote, others take fight before Senate panel. And let me read some of the riders. Okay, demand live broadcast of probe. We are not thieves. Nigerians unfair to us, Kyari. That's Mele Kyari saying that.
Okay, we are not thieves. Who have said they are thieves? Have they been accused of theft? Look, that is why I keep saying that I don't want good governance. What I demand is transparency and accountability. If we are transparent, we will demand accountability.
Now, when you talk about accountability, that means that sector should be deeply probed. But you keep saying that they don't need to be probed.
There's
an urgent need for that sector to be deeply probed by competent hands.
Now you are talking competent hands.
Not the hands that will be rubbished with this 1.7 billion million bribe.
Look, the democracy that we practice, there are three arms: interdependent, not dependent. The executive, the judiciary, and the legislature. The executive is to govern, to implement the laws of the National Assembly. The judiciary is to be the arbiter between the two and the society. Now, what do we see? The executive and the legislature, they are in bed together. You know it, that the legislative arms all over the state are in bed with the executive. The same thing. The Senate president is the candidate of the president. So also Abbas. And these members in the National Assembly are candidates of the governors. They are in bed together. Against who? Or in whose interest? Are they acting as if they are in the interest of the people? You understand? When you say independent, I have said it and I will continue to say it. It is not the executive or the National Assembly cannot probe, what do you call it, NNPC. Because NNPC is part of the executive. You know NNPC is, because NNPC belongs to the federal government and the Ministry of Finance, which is the executive branch. So the legislative branch will probe that. It won't get us anywhere. It will be a waste of time. And I will give you a constant reference.
In 60 seconds, comrade. In 60 seconds now.
A committee was set up to probe $16 billion of power under Obasanjo. Melu. That committee was disbanded. And another committee was set up to probe that committee that was to probe corruption.
That was disbanded. A committee was set up to probe another committee that was set up to probe. Oh my.
Corruption.
Okay. All right, comrade. Our time is fast spent on the program today. We have barely a minute to leave the studio now because the next program that is on our bio with Tunde Adedokun will be coming up in a short while. But definitely we will address this and other stories tomorrow morning on the program.
By God's grace.
All right, thank you very much, Comrade Ayodeji Ajishokpe, joining me virtually this morning, wishing you a very wonderful day ahead, sir.
And you too, brother. God bless you. And God bless our union.
Amen. Okay, that's the wrap for today. Like I did say, Tunde Adedokun will be up very soon. I think his crew has gone to Ipakbo this morning, and the program is on our bio. Stay tuned. My name is Ade Damola Lafenwa, wishing every one of us a very beautiful day. Good morning.
Good morning, star. èdè òyìnbó kì í ṣe ti bàbá mi.